Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. We'll give it another minute or two here to let other folks join, and then we'll go ahead and get started with today's webinar. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us again this morning. Happy to have you all here. Um, Today, we're going to talk about outdoor activities for seniors and caregivers in Washington. My name is Sebastian. I am the Walk Cares Fund Outreach and Language Access Lead, and I will be hosting today's presentation. We also have with us today Mackenzie, who is the program director for Outdoors for All Foundation. And we have with us today as well Leah, the communication specialist from the Washington State Parks Foundation. So they'll be talking about their programs and work in today's webinar as well. We do have Q&A function available. So if you have questions throughout the presentation, feel free to enter those questions into the Q&A function that you should see at the bottom of your screen. Um, Also, anyone who has joined us on a computer or using the Zoom app on their phones can also submit their questions through the Q&A function at any point in the presentation. If we're unable to answer your question during today's allotted time, you are more than welcome to email us with your question using the Contact Us form on our website. We do have live interpretation as well for today's webinar. So if you are looking for interpretation of today's webinar, you can click on the language that you would like, also at the bottom of your screen on the taskbar. And today's webinar will be recorded. So the recording, along with the slides, will be available on our website, walkcaresfund.wa.gov/webinars within 24 hours of the completion of today's presentation. So to kick things off, we're going to start talking about and defining really long-term care. So long-term care is help with activities of daily living, and that can be things like bathing, eating, moving around, and managing medication. It does not include, though, medical care, right? So things like doctor's visits, as well as treatment for medical conditions. And long-term care isn't just for older people. It can also help younger people, maybe with a disability, an injury, or severe illness. And a lot of people think that long-term care means living in a nursing home or maybe an assisted living, but it does also include in-home care as well as other services. The Walk Cares Fund covers in-home care and many other services like home modifications, home delivered meals to help you live at home as you age. And we'll talk about some of those services later on as well. In-home care, excuse me, can also support mental and emotional well-being in addition to physical support. A 2025 study showed that home care significantly reduced people receiving care's symptoms of depression. It improved their quality of life and lowered their risk of loneliness. So with the right support, most people with long-term care needs can keep living independently in their own homes. It's also very common for family caregivers to not realize that they are a caregiver. So maybe you go to your mom's house a couple times a week to cook meals, maybe drive her to appointments, make sure she's taking her medications, all of which are common care activities. And the majority of this type of care is provided informally as unpaid care. And that can be usually from a family member, a friend, or a neighbor. So a program like Walk Cares is needed because the way we've paid for long-term care up until now isn't working. So even though 70% of us will need long-term care at some point in our lives, most of us can't afford it. If we look at the cost of 20 hours of home care per week for 6 months, is just over $23,000. But the median household income for Washington seniors is $69,000, right? So that cost of long-term care is a significant chunk of that household income. So, as we mentioned, right, family caregivers are the ones stepping in to fill that gap. And that has an impact, right, on caregivers as well. So almost half report a related financial setback and spend, on average, 26% of their own income on care-related expenses. So a public insurance program like Walk Cares gives workers the opportunity to contribute while their income is higher, and then they'll be able to access um, benefits when they're and long-term care services when they're on a fixed income. Covering all workers also helps keep contribution rates low. And unlike private insurance, which typically requires someone to a 90-day waiting period, with Walk Cares, there's no deductible or waiting period. So to earn Walk Cares benefits, most Washington workers automatically contribute 0.58% of each paycheck during their working years. And you only contribute while you're working. So if you become unemployed or retire, those contributions stop. And everyone is covered at the same low rate regardless of pre-existing conditions. Starting in this month, I guess last month, excuse me, as of May of this year, applications have opened up statewide, and you'll need to meet a contribution requirement as well as a care needs requirement. Once once approved, you'll be able to choose how you want to use your benefits. The full benefit amount starts at $36,500 and grows with inflation each year. And that benefit can be used for any covered services and supports that you want. And there are no out-of-pocket costs when you need care. So we pay the providers directly for the services that you receive, again, with no copay or deductible. So this is what contributions could look like over the course of someone's career. If we look at a typical worker participating in Walk Airs earns about $59,000 a year. So they pay $29 in contributions per month, which adds up to just over $10,000 total over a 30-year career. And to earn less in benefits than you contribute, you would have to make an average of $210,000 each year over the course of 30 years. So everyone who is contributing to the Walk Cares Fund more than 500 hours per calendar year is earning benefits, and that includes part-time and temporary workers. So to qualify for benefits, you have to meet the contribution requirement through one of the three pathways. We have the permanent pathway, which will earn someone lifetime access to the full benefit amount by contributing for at least 10 years, and that's at any point in their career. Then we have the temporary pathway, which will earn someone access to the full benefit amount if they've contributed for at least 3 of the last 6 years at the time that they apply for benefits. This pathway is designed for people who have contributed recently at the point when they need care, but maybe haven't earned permanent access yet. So this year, applicants who have contributed for 3 years at any point in the program can qualify through this pathway. And then we have the transition pathway, which will earn someone permanent access to 10% of the full benefit amount for each year that they contribute. So this pathway is specifically for folks who were born before 1968, and so therefore maybe near closer to retirement. Um, so, for example, if someone has contributed for at least 2 years, they'd earn 20% of the benefit amount, which is about $7,300. This pathway is primarily designed for people, like I mentioned, who are near retirement when the program launches this July, and therefore might not be able to earn permanent access, right, or contribute enough years through the permanent access pathway for the full benefit amount. But these workers can also earn the full benefit amount if they qualify through another pathway. So someone, let's say, who retires but then continues, maybe takes a part-time job later on, they could continue contributing and again earn the full benefit amount through one of the other two pathways as well. And to use your benefits, we'll determine that we have to determine that you need help with 3 or more activities of daily living, and will also continue to need help for at least 90 days. So the activities that we consider are the ones that you see on the screen there. So bathing, bed mobility, transferring, toileting, mobility, eating, and medication management. We'll also count any activities that you need supervision to complete. So if there's someone monitoring you, right, or maybe someone reminding you to start or keep going with an activity, or helping you set up for an activity, all of those will count as part of the care needs requirement. And when you're ready to apply for benefits, you'll start by creating a WACares benefits account. If you need help managing your account, you can set up an authorized user, like a loved one, or it could be a representative. You can also get help with your application from your local area agency on aging, or also call us and apply over the phone. Once you submit your application, we'll confirm that you've met the contribution requirement. And after that, you'll be able to schedule an appointment to talk about your care needs. And after we meet with you, we'll let you know if you're approved to start using your benefits. So once you're approved, you can use your benefits for any covered services and supports from a WACares provider. And here we have the full list of covered services and supports. Um, so the way someone may want to use their benefit, of course, will depend on their needs and preferences, but someone may want to choose services to help them stay in their own home. So that can be things like in-home care, home modifications, home delivered meals, or adaptive equipment and technology. We also cover many services that support family caregivers. So you can get paid care from a loved one, including your spouse, or you can get respite care so that person can take a break. We cover education and consultation to help them manage your care, dementia and behavioral supports, care transition coordination to support you when you leave a facility, right? Like could be a hospital. You can also choose to receive services in your community. So things like an adult family home or adult day services. Or you can choose to receive care in an assisted living facility or nursing home, and that includes memory care as well. So you might be wondering how far the benefit amount will go. We know that for about a third of people will need care for a year or less. So for those people, depending again on the services that they choose, walk cares may be able to cover all or most of the care that they need. For others, walk cares can provide your family with immediate relief and also time, right, to be able to plan for future care costs as well. So these are just some examples of how someone could use their benefits. For example, if someone would like to pay a family member for care, they can receive care for 10 hours per week for 2 years and get care supplies for under $35,000. If maybe they want to make their home more accessible to keep living there independently, they can make home modifications, install a personal emergency response system, and get meals delivered for 3 years for just over $36,000. Or if someone needs short-term help, maybe after an accident, they could get in-home care for 20 hours per week for 6 months, install a ramp, and buy safety equipment for less than $29,000. And starting in July, so just next month, you can choose to continue participating in walk cares if you leave the state. So to become an out-of-state participant, you must have contributed for at least 3 years for 500 hours or more per year, and then you must opt in within a year of leaving Washington. So just like other workers, out-of-state participants will keep contributing to the fund during their working years. And starting July of 2030, out-of-state participants will be able to access their benefits outside of Washington. And I wanted to share just some key milestones and dates around program launch this year. So in January, we began a pilot program in a few counties to test our processes. That pilot program concluded at the end of March. Then, as of April 1st, workers and recent retirees who have contributed can create an online account to check annual contribution statements, and that account will also be where they eventually apply for benefits. As of May 18th, applications for benefits opened up statewide. And July 1st, so in less than a month, all beneficiaries can start receiving services. So with that, that wraps up the Walk Cares Fund program overview, and I will pass it over to Leah.
Thank you, Sebastian. So hi everyone, my name is Leah Freeman. I'm the communications specialist for the Washington State Parks Foundation, and I'm thrilled to be here and talk more about accessing Washington State Parks for older adults and caregivers, and to share more about the programs the State Parks Foundation supports. So just a brief overview of our mission and what we do. The Washington State Parks Foundation is a donor-driven nonprofit that supports Washington State parks, including through repair and restoration efforts and making parks more accessible and welcoming for all. Sorry, I'll slow down a little bit. We have a large base of supporters across the state who advocate for state parks, including through projects that reduce barriers to outdoor access for those with disabilities, accessibility needs, and for first-time or underserved park visitors. Next slide, please. I wanted to start off by talking a little about the connection between the outdoors and healthy aging. Nature is critical to well-being, and everyone should have access to outdoor spaces. So, nature-based interventions and activities like hiking, forest bathing, and therapeutic gardens, for example, are scientifically proven to support healthy aging and maintain good levels of physical and psychological health. Time spent outdoors also enhances your physical and mental health. So, time spent in nature is associated with things like a reduction in blood pressure, as well as decreasing things like anxiety and depression. And some people experience barriers to outdoor access. So, increasing accessibility of parks and outdoor spaces is really key. As we worked with people who go to parks across the state, it became clear that some people access barriers to accessing parks because they don't know what to expect when they get there, including what sorts of accessibility features there are. So that's why our mission is really to offer resources that help people feel more comfortable and confident in accessing parks. So, with that, I'll share a few programs that our donors help support. Next slide, please. So, if you live in King County, our Disabled Hikers Guide to 5 Washington State Parks, called Accessible Adventures, is a really helpful resource that prepares disabled hikers and their caregivers to visit 5 different parks in or near King County. We partnered with a member of the disabled community named Siren Nagakiri from Disabled Hikers, who wrote this amazing guide with firsthand accounts of what you can expect to find in each park. And this resource helps disabled visitors plan confident and dignified park days. And it's very important for people who experience the barriers that I was talking about in accessing state parks, um, including a lack of detailed information available online about accessibility features. The guide helps you find out what is actually accessible by including information about the surface type, slope, and trip hazards on things like trails and in parking lots and restrooms, which helps people with wheelchairs and walkers and other accessibility needs. So the guide, as I mentioned, shares 5 parks, including Lake Sammamish, Flaming Geyser, Federation Forest, Dash Point, and Saltwater State Parks. And these were chosen for their proximity to large population centers to reach the most number of visitors. And finally, the guide gives practical information to best prepare visitors for a trip, including information about parking passes and adaptive gear rentals, which we'll get into a little bit next. Next slide, please. So, elder care groups in particular will find the Accessible Adventures Guide useful to plan outings that match every resident's mobility. So, as I mentioned, the surface, slope, and restroom details can help elder care program managers match each park area to residents who use walkers or have other mobility needs. Also, important to note is that you can book adaptive gear in advance. So, for example, Outdoors for All offers a free all-terrain wheelchair called the Track Chair, which is pictured there on screen at Lake Sammamish State Park. And our donors helped support this Action Track Chair. And you can book it at Lake Sammamish this summer so that residents with all mobility needs can join. And Accessible Adventures also helps reduce on-site surprises by allowing you to check the accessibility of things like restrooms and picnic shelter reservations in advance and not when you're in the parking lot. Additionally, it talks about how to save on access and fees, which I'll talk about next. Next slide. So typically, state parks require a Discover Pass to enter, but there are plenty of discount passes available for qualifying individuals. One being the Senior Limited Income Pass. This is for Washington State residents who are 62 years of age or older with an annual income of $40,000 or less. And it gets you free parking, which means you don't need a Discover Pass to park, as well as 50% off nightly camping fees. So you can apply to that online. The Senior Off-Season Pass is offered annually also to state residents who are 62 years of age or older, and it's a $100 yearly fee that waives the base nightly camping fee during the off season, which is October to March. Next, the Disability Pass is offered to state residents who are legally blind, profoundly deaf, or who meet the disability definition used by the Social Security Administration. It gets you free parking and a 50% discount on nightly camping fees as well. If you've already been issued a permanent disabled parking ID card, you can get those same benefits as the Disability Pass. Finally, the Lifetime Disabled Veteran Pass is for Washington State residents who are veterans with a 30% or greater combined service-connected disability, which gets you free camping and free parking as well. If you don't qualify for any of these passes, in a minute, I'll also cover how to access state parks for free. Next slide, please. So I also wanted to share one resource that we at the Washington State Parks Foundation offer on our website. So by visiting waparks.org/virtual tours, you can click on any state park you want to visit and virtually explore the park to see what the campgrounds and facilities look like before you go by moving around each park with your cursor through panoramic images. So you can see a screenshot taken from one of our virtual tours on screen at Steamboat Rock State Parks on screen there. And then additionally, it's important to note these virtual tours really support visitors with accessibility needs by providing visuals that better show what visitors can expect to find in state parks. Next slide, please. So lastly, I wanted to talk about if you don't qualify for any of the passes I previously discussed, we have Discover Pass free days, and there are typically 12 throughout the entire year, which are days where you don't need a Discover Pass to park on state managed land, including state parks. So some of them already passed for 2026. The ones on screen on the left show the upcoming days for 2026, which are free to park. Additionally, at the Washington State Parks Foundation, our donors also support Check Out Washington, which is a program where library card holders can check out free Discover passes and free adventure packs, which contain Discover passes, binoculars, and fun nature guides, which can be really helpful also for first-time park visitors who want more resources to support them in their first visit to state parks. So to check these out, you can contact your local library to see what is available to you. This slide also has a link on it, and the slides will be made available to you after the presentation. And then Washington Cares will also share our contact information so you can reach out with any questions. And that's all I have for you today. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you for all that information. Next up, we'll hear about the Outdoors for All from the Outdoors for All Foundation.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Mackenzie Click. I am the program director at the Outdoors for All Foundation. We are located in Bellevue, Washington, with a couple of different sites that I will share about in a minute. But basically, what we do is provide adaptive recreation for people with disabilities and adaptive recreation needs in the community. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Our mission here at Outdoors for All is to enrich the quality of life for children and adults with disabilities through outdoor recreation. We hope as an organization to someday create a world in which people with disabilities can choose to recreate whenever and wherever they wish. Outdoors for All is made up of a very robust participant community. We serve over 2,500 individuals annually. We could not do what we do without our volunteer base. We have over 950 active volunteers each year, and we have a pretty big full-time staff. We've grown to 25 full-time staff members. Next slide, please. Outdoors for All, for those of you who have been in the area for a while, may have known us previously. We started in 1979 as a ski-only organization called Ski for All. Our first location was up at the summit at Snoqualmie, where we still provide programming in the winter months, primarily downhill skiing and Nordic skiing, along with a snowshoe program there. And we have since expanded our winter programming to Stevens Pass. We now are Outdoors for All and provide all sorts of year-round recreation activities for individuals in the community with adaptive recreation needs. Our headquarters is in Bellevue, like I mentioned. We also have programming in Magnuson Park in Seattle and at Lake Sammamish State Park, like Leah mentioned, with a new site in Pierce County at Penmet Parks Recreation Center in Gig Harbor. Next slide, please. Our participants are the heartbeat of what we do. We primarily serve folks that are 7 and up. So for this group, you're going to fall into kind of our older adults range, which we do have a few specific programs that are best for this group, which I will dive into here shortly. These are just a couple of statistics. So our group of folks that use our programming, the majority of people have cognitive and developmental disabilities. We also work with about 20% of our individuals have physical disabilities, and 10% have sensory impairments. We do not check for medical information, medical history, proof of any disability. Our programming is free to anybody to participate. However, some of the equipment that we have is very specialized for specific disabilities, which we will talk about on the next slide. So a few of our just different program types. We offer individual programs for folks who are interested in getting involved on a weekly basis. So we have programs like kayaking, paddleboarding, rock climbing. We do a learn to ride a bike program. We do a gravel bike and a mountain bike program. So these are opportunities for individuals to sign up. They get paired with a volunteer instructor that they get to do the activity with week after week. And those are available all year round in different capacities. Group programs, I'll kind of skip over. They're primarily with partnering organizations, so less for individuals. Our day camp group is primarily for youth and young adults. We do have an adult day camp program. So if you or someone you know is looking for activities during the summer and springtime, we offer anything from sailing days, kayaking days, museum days. Our groups get out into the community for that program. The big one that I want to touch on for this group is our adaptive cycling centers. These are free programs to the public, open from May 1st through the end of September. We have a location at Lake Sammamish State Park, which also includes the track chair that Leah mentioned. That is on a reservation basis. So if you or someone you know is interested in moving around in the park, and maybe is a wheelchair user or is has one-sided weakness or is impacted by balance issues, they're more than welcome to call ahead or go to our website and reserve the track chair. We also have an adaptive cycling center at Magnuson Park in North Seattle, as well as Penn Met Park in Pierce County, Gig Harbor, like I mentioned. These are free programs for the public. We're open 10 to 6 daily. If there is a specific bike you're hoping to ride, you can always call ahead and see if that bike is available. We also work with veteran groups, primarily through group programs, but also individual programs. We have a lot of financial aid available for our veterans. So if you or someone you know falls into that category, there is funding available so that you don't have to pay for programs with us. Another primary program that we offer is our Let's Go program, partnering with the Seattle School District and the Edmonds School District. We bring adaptive bikes into schools, and kids are able to ride along with their peers that ride standard bikes, for those that might be on an IEP or have a 504 plan. Next slide, please. Awesome. So here's just a kind of a reference guide for those adaptive cycling centers. Like I mentioned, they are free. You do not need a reservation. You can stop in whenever. They're open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. from May 1st through September 30th. We recommend that these bikes are reserved for people either with disabilities or an adaptive recreation need. So if you have balance and coordination troubles, if you have a physical disability, cognitive disability, or have a need for a bike that's a little bit more stable than a standard two-wheeled bike, that is why we exist. This program started in partnership with the Seattle Department of Transportation, funding our Magnuson Park location as a part of their rideshare program. For their bike share program. So instead of the Lime bikes and the standard bikes and scooters that you see out on the streets in Seattle, we offer a similar type of program out of our centers in Magnuson Park. Caregivers are also welcome to come and ride. So if you want to come enjoy biking, but you don't want to do it alone, we do provide caregiver bikes. We also have some really fun side-by-side tandem bikes, inline tandem bikes. There's a lot of different options. So come by and visit us at one of our centers this summer. We'd love to see you. Next slide, please. Leah mentioned a little bit in her presentation just about the impact of outdoor recreation on mental health and enjoying the impacts of enjoying the outdoors on our well-being. So I just wanted to highlight here the amount of experiences that we offer. Come get involved. There's a lot of really amazing people to meet through programming at Outdoors for All. If you don't want to participate, but you would love to give back and volunteer, there's also spaces for that within our programs. As you can see here, our volunteers donate a lot of time to make our programming happen and to support those one-on-one experiences. Next slide, please. Another impact that we see here is self-confidence, self-accomplishment, friendships that are being reported back to us through surveys that we send out, improved physical fitness and quality of life. We also see that programs directly impact individuals' comfortability trying new things. They feel empowered and able to get out and do something that maybe they did pre-injury or earlier on in life. Our ski program is a really amazing space for people to get involved as well. We offer sit ski lessons, stand ski lessons with sliders for folks with balance troubles, all sorts of different options there. So if summer isn't your thing and you'd rather be up on the mountain in the winter, there's also space to get involved there. We do have private lessons available in the winter. So if you're interested in just doing a one-time lesson and seeing what it's all about and learning a little bit more, that's a really good way to start out and get involved. Next slide, please. If you have any questions or comments, I'm happy to take them here now. I also have a couple of QR codes here. If you want to sign up for our e-newsletter, feel free to scan the QR code. It will take you to our website to sign up for that newsletter. We send it out monthly with updates on programs and other things happening in the community to get involved in. Thanks so much, everyone, for your time. That's all I have. There is one more slide. Yeah.
Thank you, Mackenzie. All right, and with that, I think it's a good transition to our general Q&A section. So if you all have any questions, we have some time definitely to answer those about any of the three programs that you heard this morning.
So I do have some questions from the other platform that we are streaming on. One of them is, are there any activities that you recommend? Okay, I am a caregiver. Are there any activities that you recommend me taking the person I am caring for to do since they are not used to participating in the outdoors? Like beginner friendly things that I can try.
Yeah, I can chime in on this one, and then Leah, if you have anything to add. I would say the track chair program at Lake Sammamish is a great place to start. It's pretty local. It's a small enough park to get around in without needing to navigate difficult trails. There's park staff there that are super helpful, along with the Outdoors for All team that can answer questions. We also, within Outdoors for All, our bike programs are the easiest to access. They're free. If you don't like it, you can leave. There's no commitment necessary, which is also a great place to start. And there's so many different bikes available that they would be able to come try something and find what works best for them. So that would be my recommendation from the Outdoors for All perspective.
I can also chime in. I would definitely recommend checking out our accessible adventures guide that I mentioned because a lot of the trails mentioned in that guide are shorter and accessible for different mobility needs. I don't know how I can access the participant chat, but essentially you can just go onto our website at waparks.org/advent accessible underscore adventure underscore guide. So, or just search up Accessible Adventures, Washington State Parks Foundation, and you should be able to find it.
Are the programs that you mentioned social, or would it just be the person and whoever they came with? Like the participant and like if they brought their family, I guess is the question.
Yeah, it depends on the program. So for the individual programs, they are typically with 10 to 12 individuals. that are participating, and then 10 to 12 volunteers that are supporting. So that type of programming is very social. Our adaptive cycling centers are less of a social outing unless they bring other people with them that also have an adaptive recreation need.
Do you have volunteer opportunities in either of your organizations?
Yeah, so for Washington State Parks, there are what's called friends groups, and those are organized locally by state parks. Not every state park has one. Some are clusters of state parks that have one friends group, but they organize a lot of local volunteer opportunities. With our organization specifically, not so much, but there are lots of like hands-on in the state parks volunteer opportunities that we always encourage people to get involved with. So definitely you can find friends groups um, on our website at what the Washington State Parks Foundation website. So yeah.
Yeah, and then at Outdoors for All, we also, like I mentioned, have so many volunteer opportunities. Um, Whether it's a ski buddy during the winter, a kayak or paddleboard buddy. If you have a background in rock climbing, we need belay volunteers. Um, we have mountain bike volunteers for our mountain biking program. We also do a lot of beneficiary events and work with partners in the area, and often rely on our volunteer base to help with those as well, including our annual gala in November. And then we have an event called Spree Fest in the spring up on the mountain at Snoqualmie Pass. And we rely heavily on volunteers for that as well. So there's a lot of different ways to get involved. We also rely on volunteers to help with maintenance of our entire bike fleet. So if that's something you're interested in, there's space there as well.
Great. Sorry, I'm just reading through some of these. Is there a way to tell when working with somebody with cognitive impairments if the activity you're trying to do might be like too difficult, or um how can you, yeah, how can you gauge activities that you should be doing?
That's a great question. It really depends on the person and building rapport with them. One thing we find is that participants who return end up having better outcomes the longer they're involved because they get used to the cadence and they understand the transitions and they kind of know what's expected. Sometimes the first few times doing an activity, depending on the person's disability, might be a challenge. And our motto is challenge by choice. So if someone does not want to participate, we will not make them participate. Some caregivers will come with participants and push them a little bit to get them into the activity. And once they're going, sometimes it's a really wonderful experience. For example, our climbing program, we have several people in that program that really did not like it at first. And after trying it a few times and having an encouraging belay buddy, now they love it. It's their favorite activity. So sometimes it takes a couple of tries. I would, though, recommend starting with something simple. Biking is, I keep saying this, but it is a really easy way to start. And there's a lot of benefits that we see from the biking program. Some people also, like Leah had mentioned, hiking trails and forest baths are amazing and another really great way to get people involved in outdoor recreation.
Perfect. I'll give another second in case anybody, those were all the questions from the other platform. If anybody here on Zoom has a question. You can use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen and enter it in there. We can also get you connected after the webinar if you have a specific question. Next slide, please. After you close out of today's webinar, a short survey will appear on your screen. If you could take a minute to complete the survey, we would appreciate to hear your feedback. Next slide. For walk-cares, the recording of today's webinar and the slides will be available on our website sometime within the next 24 hours. We also are on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn if you'd like to follow us. And if you do have a question, you can submit it by email through the form or call one of our numbers. And we'll also have the panelists' contact information available so you can reach out to them or you can find it in the slides on our website. Thank you all for joining us today, and we hope you have a great day.